According to Uganda's statistics, agriculture remains the most important sector, employing the biggest population and a major source of livelihood in the country. The Uganda National Household Survey, UNHS 2016-2017, the agriculture sector accounted for the largest share of employment at 36%. The survey also indicated women constitute 70% of the agricultural labor force, and yet they suffer from low wages in plantation-based investments and remain disproportionately affected by land grabs. From the onset, Chengeza village in Chitemba, Madudu sub-county, Mubende, looks like any ordinary village in rural Uganda. But hidden behind the smiles of the children and the community lies a deep, dark scar. In 2001, this village was among several villages in this area where families were thrown out of their land to pave way for a coffee plantation by a foreign investor, Kaweri Coffee, a multi-million company that grows and exports coffee. Large-scale agricultural production in Uganda is mainly in the hands of large foreign companies supported by the government with the view of revenue generation. Given the fact that women are mostly employed in the large-scale plantations, varying from coffee plantations, sugarcane plantations, palm oil plantations, flower farms, and many others, they experience rights violations as they work in the different plantation-based investments with little or no help.
You have to look at how much is someone putting, and then also looking at how much they're being paid, because most of them, this is their livelihood. This is where they get money to pay school fees. They get money to pay to buy land. This is where they get money to pay for school fees for their children.
This documentary highlights some of the plights women face in these large-scale plantation-based investments. Mariam, not real names, who spoke on condition of anonymity, says she was among the first employees of the plantation after the eviction of 2001. She says the company has deliberately failed to address some of the basic rights violations that have been going on in the plantation.
Bagala sente just kukumira awo na family yo kubeera awo era by that ekyasinga n'okujja abantu abangi ne ba resigninga ng'omusaala mutono tomalaako kuba muntu agendanga n'okufuna omusaala nga mutuufu toyinayo wadde n'ekikumi nga wazirya dda ng'era olina continuinga na mulala era nazo zigenda okujja ng'olwedde olina amabanja kwegamba obusente bwo nga butono era baba toli mu kujjukujju era abasinga bavuddeyo tebalina kye balina bangi tebalina bavayo zero.
The women rights violations include low pay, denial of fundamental rights to food, sexual harassment, physical abuse, and seizure of community lands without consent.
Ebikwatagana ku bakyala mu faamu omwo si birungi olw'ensonga bangi bw'aba akolayo nga mufumbo awunzika bumulemye olw'ensonga ennimiro ebeeramu abasajja n'abakazi tebeera nnungi. Empisa embi tezirema kubeera mu kubanga tebaba na kibaziiza.
Era abakyala abamu kale naddala nga mu bifo ebyawaggulu abamu okufuna ebifo baamalanga kubakozesa n'alyoka afuna omulimu abamu.
24-year-old Annette Nachiwole was just a little girl when her family was forcefully evicted out of their land. With no resources to support the family, Annette dropped out of school. After languishing in the village for years without any meaningful employment and a child to look after, Annette took up a job at Kaweri Coffee Plantation as a casual laborer, earning a paltry 5,000 shillings for her day's work.
Ensasula ntono ate sente ze batusuubiza okutuwafa abaatugoba tebatuwa. Okufuna 5,000 okola okuva ku makya paka saa 7 ne munnyuka ne muddayo waka n'enkeera bw'otyo.
Annette's story reverberates across the entire Madudu sub-county. Many households can barely afford the basic needs, and their only source of livelihood is Kaweri coffee plantation that was in the first place the cause of their predicament. Several women we spoke to testify of very poor working conditions at the plantations. They have had to endure the harsh conditions because of the lack of alternative source of livelihood.
Abantu bakola butaagaane nga tebalina gye bajja ssente. Oyinza ofuna akantu n'okalima ebintu ne bifa. Oba n'opangisa n'olaba ng'opangisizza n'olima ne bifa. Wakati awo olina okugamba kangendeko eno mu Kaweeri nkole ssente ezinannyamba ezigula sabbuuni ezikola n'omunnyo.
With all the cries from the women workers, Kaweri Coffee seems unbothered. When the film crew visited the plantation, the organization declined to speak, asking the crew to instead write to the owners for comments. Arthur Nsereko, the coordinator of the Network of Public Interest Lawyers NEPTIL, says because of the huge sums of monies invested by these organizations, most communities are rendered powerless.
We are talking of large-scale investments that are behind some of the schools we find in these communities. They are behind some of the water sources we find in these communities. And then they even run budgets that are way bigger than the budgets of the local governments where they are found, budgets that are way bigger than the budgets of a whole country. So are they untouchable? Yes, because when it comes to those discussions on that round table, the biggest question will be, what is your worth as a government? What is your worth as a community? What is your worth as a civil society organizations versus our worth as a large investment in the country?
Foreign investors enjoy control and ownership of resources like seed, undermine food security and food sovereignty, pay low prices to the few smallholder farmers who attempt to participate in the country's competitive value chains. From Madudu to Jinja and across the country, the stories of rights violation of women in large-scale plantations remain unattended to.
There are many challenges which are faced by the community ladies, or more especially women in this area. For them, in most cases, they are the providers for the homes and their children. So they do most of the hectic work. They go and work in chambers. But in those chambers, they get problems or challenges. For example, those people give them work, underpay them. They are not paid according to the work which they are doing. They go without eating. Can you imagine someone working from morning up to late evening, around 6, and she has gone without lunch?
Hadija Namokobembe's frustration is written all over her face. She's among hundreds of women in Busegula village who are engaged in sugarcane plantations that form the biggest part of the community. After working in this plantation for months, that grower, Sam Napoa, became reluctant to pay them their wages, forcing her children to miss examinations due to lack of fees.
Nze nkolera mu kupakasa era nga tipakayisa era tilya. N'abaana baatyama tibasoma era ndi wano ndikulajana nalajana kuva lule twegaira omusaada bamukubira amasimu nti munatuweereza akasente abaana bajje ku masomero ngezira nasigala nga ndikulira bulira amaziga nti banange tukoze tutyanze mu maka agange nkoze nti okuvaawo n'abaana bano
ife tutwajayo kati nga tukoba muna ifona ikujja tuwati kati osente deni mbya bulungi nga tubanda kiki pola mpola ekati okujja kwa kunkomera ituwe mdwale satu kituntu akoba kuva ogwokuna guno gwa munana tena tuba tusuye nga tujani yeshi yamani nga tutuli kusima.
Besides the poor lack of pay, sexual abusers in these large-scale plantations also go unabated. Many victims of sexual abuse do not come out due to fear of stigmatization and loss of employment. They continually suffer in silence, according to the area local councillor, Ruth Mubezi.
They fear to express their problems. They think if they can do so, they will be affected in their marriages, that those rich people will stop giving them work in this community. They have that fear in them.
Tuetya bene okutwala omuntu kwerosi, tumala tuetya bene okutwala omuntu kwerosi, nti ntwala omuntu oyo kwerosi mala naatya nti wenayo noneri neryo ono oletajja kumpa mulimo nti oyo omukazi alina mpisambi gyakolera mala yamutwala kwerosi. Kale bene nifo tukola ki tumala tuetya bwetya nze mwene neetya mwene.
We have to send a clear message to the public that regardless of your status, if you assault a lady, whether you are the boss, whether you have money and you seduce these younger girls, the message has to be clear. Once it is reported, then definitely you'll have to face the long arm of the law without fear or favor.
Human rights abusers continue to fester in the sugarcane plantations as investors such as Kakira Sugar Works, Lugazi Sugar and others turn a blind eye to the problem. Most of the time, authorities like police only respond to cases that are reported or documented in reports by major NGOs, leaving the vulnerable women to shoulder all the abuse.
The few cases which are being reported, we have found out that they report those cases with a hidden agenda. Someone reports a case, but at the back of his or her mind wants to use police as a bargaining tool. Because someone knows if you report the accused person to police, definitely that person would have humbled him. So that's how they will begin the negotiations. Give us this money if we are to excuse you. And at times that's how these cases die.
The moment we run to police claiming a violation, then we would expect police to come in and investigate. And yes, police is right to say that. Sometimes we use police as a bargaining chip to ensure that the violations are remedied. The question is, when people run to police, is police capacitated enough and is police willing to walk the whole journey of the investigation to the point of prosecution of that violator?
In an attempt to address the challenges faced by women engaged in large-scale plantation-based investments, ActionAid Uganda International, through the Fair Green Global Project, is now actively supporting women to get justice.
The project is looking at instances where we have to identify human rights violations that impact women, specifically women, in these large-scale investments, and we see how we can help them as women, first of all, get to know awareness of their rights, and also to look at working with these corporations, these transnational corporations, to see if they are really respecting and upholding the rights of the indigent people or the vulnerable people in the communities they're working with, and also look at if the government is protecting the rights of the Ugandans, especially where these large-scale investments are being implemented.
The organization is also working with other partners to ensure that these women are sensitized about their rights and how they can seek redress in case they feel their rights are abused.
As ActionAid and as a project, we're working with our partners, first of all, to give rapid response in terms of the legal representation, that is legal aid to these different communities. That's where one is being affected, they can always go and get a remedy. We've been supporting different cases under public interest litigation with our different partners. So we want to bring up such a case. If it's really affecting a very big number of people, then we can bring up such a case to get remedy from the government and to hold the government accountable for what they're supposed to do.
Unless a concerted effort is put in place by the government and other agencies, these ongoing cases of human rights violations in large-scale plantations will continue to fall through the cracks, and women will continue to bear the brunt.